Another episode of Courtside with the Cavs getting rolling here with you on a Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. It's Spencer German. It's Spencer Davies. You know what I miss, Spence? I miss our little intro video. That's what I miss. Can we get
Yeah,
a new one of
intro
those?
video. Yeah, I know we need to put one of those together for sure. I'm just thinking to myself, wow, I haven't done a podcast in this office in I feel like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, because it's been such a crazy homestand, such a crazy holiday season. So a little bit more familiar territory for us here today.
Yeah, it's always nice when we can convene this way. I agree. Obviously, getting a chance to talk Cavs, talk about the state of things. Do want to remind you, as always, we're part of the Cavs Roundtable team and family. You can head over to the website, CavsRoundtable.com. Join our community and talk to us there. Spence does a tremendous job during the games with the live game threads and kind of updating you as he goes. And he leaves those comments open for you guys to chime in and share your thoughts on things. So be part of that every single game. But also, we encourage you to come hang out with us on the YouTube channel. There's a ton of great stuff over there. Spence is always cranking out all the post-game press conferences. When I'm there, I'm helping him with that. But then also, obviously, this podcast, which we try to, as regularly as you can, get episodes up. We're treating our post-game episodes as just podcast episodes now, too. So it's all one big bucket of Cavs, courtside with the Cavs, I should say. And we appreciate you tagging along to be part of it. Plenty to talk about, Spence. And I think first and foremost, I tweeted it out last night. We weren't going to do a live show after that Toronto game, but we were planning on talking about it a little bit today. And I got to say, I thought that given how the Toronto game went a little over a week and a half before, a little over a week prior, I thought that they'd come up with a little more energy. I understand it was the second night of a back-to-back. You didn't have DG and all those different things. There were 7 guys who didn't play in that game, but I was a little disappointed in how they came out and approached that game because I thought that, especially with the way Evan and Scotty Barnes kind of have that rivalry with each other and the way Scotty sort of took his lunch the first time around. And I know Scotty didn't play tremendously great himself. It was more so Brandon Ingram taking over that game. But given how that prior matchup went, I thought Evan would be a little bit more juiced up. And he obviously didn't play very well. We're going to dive into him more specifically, but just what were your overall thoughts about the way they played in that Toronto game last night?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you right off the bat. I think that everybody besides Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell played their tails off and their hearts. I thought a lot of these guys that came in and played some roles that were maybe up a little bit from their usuals. I'm talking about the Jalen Tysons of the world, and even Lonzo Ball taking as many shots as he did yesterday. Yeah. You're missing a ton of guys. You're missing half of your roster. I thought the compete level was fantastic. It was a 4-point game with like 4 minutes left, so I think that that's okay, especially because we look at the Raptors like they're some like oddball team, like they're at the bottom of the league nowadays, and they're not. They're actually towards the top of the league right now, and for good reason. Brandon Ingram's playing his butt off. Scotty Barnes has found a lot of the magic that made him one of the best players when they were playing with Pascal Siakam and those guys that were left from the championship team. This is a good team. The Raptors are good. They pressure the heck out of you. They turn you over and they play fast. And just like the story was the first 2 games, I thought the tide really turned when Jamal Shed and Sandru Mamashvili came in and gave them more of an energy off the bench. And from there, the Raptors took off. So that's really how I saw this game. Disappointed in Donovan, but how disappointed can you be in Donovan Mitchell after winning Eastern Conference Player of the Week? Like, do we have amnesia? No, it's okay. Guys are going to have that during an 82-game season. Plenty of reason to be like, concerned over and watch Evan Mobley take 7 shots and be like, what are you doing? Because the last time he played against Scotty Barnes absolutely demolished him. So Evan definitely deserves the criticism. No doubt has to get better at his job at this moment. But it's also one of those things where 1 week doesn't define, not 1 week, 1 month does not define who Evan Mobley is as a basketball player. He's coming off of a season where he won when he was in the All-NBA second team. He won Defensive Player of the Year. It was a summer full of offseason MVP talk and taking the leap and all that stuff. So it's huge. It's huge for him to have all these expectations, and he needs to be better. I think he needs to be better.
Yeah.
I think he knows he needs to be better too. But at the same time, like, there's so many different lineup combinations and the roles that have changed for him, and he should be able to break out of those. I understand that. But development isn't the same for everybody else, and he is still a developing player. He is not a finished product. And if you think he's a finished product, then you just don't know how sports maturation development works, because he's got such a high ceiling that he hasn't even come close to scratching yet.
Yeah, so you're right in that I think the fight level from the rest of the team was solid last night, and unfairly by me, I think I equated sort of my disappointment in Evan to the rest of the team, and it was more so like thinking Evan would come out with a little more juice, and he didn't. Understanding like, hey, there's no DG tonight. You don't have that other scoring threat. You're missing some other guys, so it's on you to sort of rise to the occasion. And I guess that's where my biggest concern sort of lies here, right? Is and I'm trying to balance, me, Spence. I try to be pretty level-headed about these things. I'm a little more at times, I can have a stronger take on things sometimes without the full sort of picture, because I think
neither of us are Anthony Meglin, at least.
No, yeah, we're not drawing up trades and working through the trade machine right now to get Evan Mobley out of here. So I think I try to be pretty level-headed, but I also, like the emotion of it does kind of kick in at times, and I leave plenty of room to understand, like, Evan's trying to sort of figure out a new role, or an increased role, maybe is a better way to put it, with this team. I can leave room for the idea that he still has room to grow as just a 24-year-old in this league, and that sometimes development isn't linear and it takes time. So I accept all those things. But like, what I think has been the most concerning for me to this point with Evan at basically like the quarter pole of the season is that, this early portion of the season, you have been missing some key guys. And that's why we're not fully judging what this team can be. But in those moments, I guess I just expect that Evan kind of has that dial in his head where he's like, okay, I need to turn it up here because we don't have DG, or we don't have DeAndre, or we don't have Sam. So everybody understands Donovan is Donovan, and he's going to do his thing. He's going to get his fair share of shots, and he's playing at an otherworldly level, which we'll obviously talk about. But with Evan, it just feels like there's still that thing missing, where it's like he can't get himself to want to take over in those moments. Like 7 shots against the Raptors on Monday night was extremely disappointing, because he has to do more than that, especially if him and Donovan are the two biggest scoring threats that they're supposed to have. So that's the thing I'm trying to sort of figure out right now, is like, yes, I can accept he's learning an increased role. He's trying to get acclimated to that. Kenny's putting a lot on his plate. He deserves it. He's earned that. They should be doing that. But at the same time, trying to sort of balance that with, like, does he have that mentality in him where it's just like, I got to be the guy because this guy's missing, or I got to take over in this spot. And even sometimes, if that means superseding or stepping on Donovan's toes, because he's that type of player. He's that good. If they're talking about him like an MVP caliber player, sometimes MVP caliber players just got to do that. So that's the thing I think I'm struggling with right now with Evan. By no means am I sitting here saying that what we've seen these first, what are we at, like 20-ish games, a little over 20 games. I'm not saying that he's going to be defined totally by what we've seen this first 20 games. I'm not saying that he can't improve as the season goes on. I'm expecting him to improve as the season goes on. But that is the thing that I think I have found myself most disappointed with and most confused by with this Evan Mobley evolution to this point.
I think that's what resonates with the Cavs fans most, is that he's not been able to self-start. That's the problem that Evan's had.
Really, really good way to put it.
Is when he has the basketball, especially in the half court, he's not getting advantages on players. He's getting stopped by defenses that are able to keep up with him. He has a loose handle still. It's still not been as good as we think that it could have been after working all summer long on it. The three-point shot has been a little bit wonky. He airballed 2 of them on what was it, Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. And you have these moments where he's on the block and he's got the ball low, like he got stripped candy taken from a baby Scotty Barnes on the perimeter when he was just face up. And that did not happen even last year with Evan. So that's why, like, when I'm watching these games, I'm like, he's not himself right now. Like, and I don't know why people have to take it to the next level as if that's who he was last year, because this isn't who he was last year. Last year's version of Evan Mobley on this team, like, would have been dominating, for honestly, like, because he was getting the ball closer to the paint. Like, a game like Sunday night against the Clippers, which, yes, I know Ivica Zubac had his way, but no matter who the Cavs put on Ivica Zubac when they play him, he dominates. So don't miss me with that. He looked like Evan in that game when Darius and Donovan were setting him up. And yes, he needs someone to be setting him up right now because he doesn't have the tools to be the isolation player at this moment. And he's not getting separation with his crossover, with his spin move. It's just not looking the same as it did even last year at this point. I think it's a little bit mental. Look at the free throw numbers. You know, like I just think it's just he's off to a really tough start. There's a lot of pressure on him. And if you want to say that's an excuse, then that's your prerogative. But I just think that all encompassing together and the 11 different starting lineups that the Cavs have had so far.
That hasn't helped.
And combine that with 19 games already to this point in just a month of play because the NBA is stupid and they schedule these games like crazy. They've been playing every other day for the past 2 weeks. Finally get 2 to 3 days off before Friday's game in Atlanta. Then that's my opinion. That's why I think it's gone awry so far. But I'm not saying that Evan doesn't have to be better. He has to be better. But he's just not an isolation player. He's not somebody like we've had this conversation about Giannis Antetokounmpo before. We have. Before he got to the finals and became that alpha, they're like, well, Giannis, he's easier to stop in the half court because if he gets his own, if he just tries to get momentum going by himself without screens, without anything like that, and he's a point forward, then we're able to kind of collapse on him and make his teammates beat us. And, that didn't work for the Bucks for a while. And then they started to get him involved in some screen and roll actions. And eventually he became somebody who is obviously better in the half court. I see the same thing with Evan. Evan is a transition player right now. That's when he's at his strength. And his passing ability is still really, really good. He had some really nice dimes in Toronto last night. I think their career arcs fascinate me because they seem more similar together to me than, say, like Evan and Anthony Davis. Like
I agree.
It's very Giannis-like to me. And there was a lot of pressure on the Greek Freak too after 4 or 5 seasons. And how little we forget though. Like I just the fickle nature of sports fandom to me is just it's crazy. I can't deal with it. It's like, did you miss what happened like even a year ago? And you think that okay, now what I see in front of me, that's what he's been. Like that's what he's gonna be. No.
And the Giannis example is a really good one because that reminds us that like sometimes these things take time. Giannis wasn't what Giannis is now. Obviously, his first like 3, 4, 5 years in the league, it took him some time to get there and build up to that, and then become the MVP caliber player that he is. So I like that. The same could be true for Evan, and that's why I sit here and I have these questions and I have these concerns, but I'm not sitting here saying, well, he's never going to be that because I'm still leaving room for the idea that he can evolve and continue to get better, but that it's just concerning to this point. And the thing I kind of go back to is in these early games, Donovan Mitchell's been a constant. Like, what you're getting from Donovan Mitchell. That's what we're hoping Evan gets to. We want Evan to get to a point. We think Evan should get to a point where on any given night, we know he's going to get his, especially on nights where he doesn't have his full arsenal of teammates around him. And that's what we've kind of seen from Donovan, but Evan just hasn't kind of been there yet. He's been lagging behind. I guess the next question in this, Spence, is like, what is it going to take for him to get there? Because that's like, again, one of the knocks on Evan since he's been in the league has been, you bring up like the mental side of it, like the free throws right now, maybe a mental thing, him not being willing to be like an isolation player that can kind of take over on his own and create his own shot at times. That being sort of a mental thing. Like, will he ever have that mental capacity to do those things? That's, I think, the big question Cavs fans have, because this has been a constant sort of like push and pull with Evan, where it's like some nights it looks like it's starting to click and he's going to start to build momentum in that direction. And then other nights, like on Monday, it's just not there. And so I think I have those doubts because I question, like, if you can change somebody's like makeup when it comes to like the mental side of it or their physicality or how they play, over the course of history. I think they can become better players, but can you change that part of their game or that part of who they are? I always have questions about that. But what do you think about just like, can he get past that hurdle? Can he convince himself enough to become that alpha in the key spots where he's needed to become that alpha?
That's the burning question. Not everybody's an Anthony Edwards, you know?
Right.
Not everyone can be a Giannis. And again, it took Giannis a minute to find that.
For sure.
And you know, like that's where I'm looking at this. I don't think that Evan has that mentality right now. And I don't know what it takes to get there. I wish I had that question, and I'm not a psychologist. They do have sports psychologists. Maybe they can give us that answer. We could find somebody to come on this and see.
That's a good idea, actually. That's a really good idea. Can we find a sports psychologist to bring on the show to talk about this? Because I love this idea.
What it takes to go from like, you know, experiences. Do those fuel you to get to the next, you know? Because I feel like Donovan's, you know, even had that from, you know, going from Utah to Cleveland and then like using every year as fuel, right? Like, does it take 2 or 3 more failures for Evan to say, finally, all right, dude, like, get it together? Or is it more elongated? Like, I don't know that. I don't know that question. Or, I mean, I don't know that answer. So it's a good one. It's a good question to have. It's interesting. It's an interesting case study for sure. And I forgot to mention too, just last night specifically, Donovan and Kenny, of course, coming to Evan's defense, saying he was making the right play because, you know, they were sending 3-4 guys into the paint, packing the paint. Seems like a lot of teams do pack the paint though. So just wanted to throw that in there because Donovan's like,
I think that's
he's making the right plays.
I think that's what Tom was kind of alluding to too here in the comments. Evan was attacked by 3 multiple times on Monday. So yeah. And again, that's another thing that I can give, that I can accept. Like, he's trying to make the right play and not like force the issue. But sometimes I think fans want to see him force the issue, right? Because they want him to be that alpha. And that's, I think, the fine line and the balance he's still trying to strike. We'll see how it evolves throughout the season. It's early. It's the quarter pole of the season. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here coming up, just more broadly with the Cavs in general. But
DG allows him to be that alpha.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about that a ton already, Spence, like in our post-game episodes where when DG's played, how much better Evan looks and how much more unlocked he looks when DG's out on the floor with him. So certainly something to that as well. By the way, I just looked this up. The Cavs director of Ohio Center of Sports Psychology and the sports psychologist for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jack J. Lessick. So maybe we'll have to reach out to him and see if he can join the show. We can talk to him a little bit about this stuff. I actually think that'd be a brilliant idea to like talk about the sports psychology side of things. And hopefully our audience agrees. But we talked about Evan Mobley. I want to talk about the guy who's kind of his partner in crime here right now, especially with so many guys banged up, and has put on an absolute show. We have no questions about him being an alpha, Donovan Mitchell, because listen, he has to firmly be in the MVP conversation at this point, regardless of what happened on Monday night. He's been brilliant. He has dragged the Cavs to several victories already this season with his efforts. He's played 17 games now, and in 10 of them, he has 30-plus points. Like, he's playing out of his mind. I want to know, though, realistically, Spence, like, what would he have to do to legitimately be in that MVP conversation for the entire year? And that's also remembering, by the way, that this award tends to come with some fatigue. Voters get tired of like picking the same guys over and over again. So like Shea won it last year. Obviously, Jokic has won it a couple years prior, multiple times. Joel Embiid had one in there at one point. So like Donovan would be something new and refreshing from that regard if he can keep pace with some of these guys. But realistically, like, what do you kind of give him in terms of chances to win this award by season's end?
You know, it's funny you say fatigue with voters. I think it's fatigue on players too, and that's why typically MVPs that win during the regular season don't win championships, unless, like last year with Shea. That's a different story, right? But I think for him to keep up that pace, the pace he has on right now, he'd be in the conversation. There are 2 incredibly good European players in the Western Conference, though, that are holding it down right now. Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, of course. And there's always Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, especially now that he's cemented his legacy as a championship player. So it's just tough to kind of break through that. I think if Donovan Mitchell is in that MVP conversation, then the Cavs are probably somewhere in like the 3 to 4 seed rather than like the 1 to 2 seed, because that means that he's, like you said, bailing them out in a way.
Well, that was going to be my next question, was do Cavs fans even want him in the MVP conversation? Because just truly, like, this has been so fun to watch. And it's, for me and for you, Spence, as basketball fans, going to that arena and watching Donovan Mitchell put on a show like that is, I mean, that is what you go, that's what you go to games for, right? Like, you want those performances, like the performance we saw in the playoffs last year with the Pacers. Like, I will never forget witnessing him drop that 50 burger the way he did. Like, that was ridiculous. And it was like him just getting downhill, him attacking. I mean, it was one of the most incredible basketball performances I've ever seen, but it was also in a losing effort. And that's where I think, like, yeah, you want those games sometimes as a one-off where Donovan drops like 70 like he did the one time, and you want to see those things as a fan, but you also realize for like the good of the team, you probably don't want Donovan Mitchell in the MVP conversation. Granted, Shea just won it last year on a team that also was very, very good around him, and he still put up those types of numbers. So it's not impossible to be an MVP caliber player and then go and chase that championship dream. I'm just saying, I think we know how this Cavs team is constructed. We know how much the previous conversation we just had, they're leaning into Evan Mobley being a key factor in all this. Like, if those things are all going to come to fruition, you don't really need or want Donovan to have to feel like he has to take over so much this year that he's averaging like 30 plus points and he ends up being like a top candidate for the MVP, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They also play different positions. I think that's another thing between, like,
very true.
Say him and Shea, for example. So, like, it's hard for a shooting guard to win MVP. Like, shooting guards themselves, like, I want to see the history of shooting guards. And yes, we're going to look at Michael Jordan, obviously. But like that position, I think it's difficult because primary scorers don't always have that all-around effect. I think Donovan has had that all-around effect this year, though. And I think he's averaging something like 6 assists a game. His playmaking's really taken off.
AI won it, obviously, as a shooting guard in 2001. That's one.
That's one. Yep.
I was thinking, I was like, I know AI won
small
one.
Forwards,
I couldn't remember what
small
year.
forwards, centers, point guards. Like that's just me thinking, because there's a lot of combo now. The game's a little different.
And let's face it, Spence. Like, the centers who are winning it these days, it's all these guys who are like stretch players and can literally like knock down shots from anywhere. I mean, Jokic has won the last 4 centers that have won were 3 from Jokic and then 1 from Embiid. And like, those are guys who are just like incredible talents. But like, if you put those guys back in like the 70s and 80s, they'd be like, who is this alien that's playing basketball? Like, how can this guy do this stuff? Like, it's pretty crazy. But you're right. Like, it is a hard position, obviously, to win if you're a shooting guard. I agree.
Yeah, I think his playmaking's been really good this year. His points per shot attempt, according to Clean the Glass, I think I saw was in the 94th percentile, which is up by like 30 rank points from last year so far. So he's making his teammates better. It's great to see. He's also changed his philosophy a little bit. There's a great answer to a question about him being a complete player. That's actually on this YouTube channel from the Clipper game that I advise people to go and watch. Just hear his full answer. I actually tweeted it out too in a video form. But he's basically saying, like, the Pacer series kind of taught him, like, you can't just drive full court every possession or else you're going to be tired and you're going to be worn down. So now it's not just downhill to attack. It's downhill to create and downhill to skip pass. Utilize that mid-range more. Do all these different things from what you've been used to doing most of your career, because the game is just faster now. Yeah. It's changed, and he said that Indiana series taught him a lot in that respect. So he's come out and had a wonderful start to the year. He's been everything they've asked of him more, especially with this grueling schedule that they've had.
Yeah.
But I don't think he could stay in MVP conversations because they're going to have more of the Cleveland Cavaliers offense that we're used to seeing, and then therefore have the shot distribution change a little bit, especially when Darius Garland's back. full time or not on second night of back-to-backs or anything like that. And then when, Evan Mobley starts to figure it out, they've been missing Max Strus, Jared Allen. Sam Merrill's been a key piece to the team, and he's missed the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Like, again, I go back to that. Like, I'm sorry, it sounds like I'm treating him with kid gloves, but like,
all conversations lead back to how many guys have been out. Yeah.
Like, am I going crazy? Like,
no,
I don't
no,
think.
No.
But like, it's so imperative to have at least, only 3 guys out instead of 6, 7 on your team. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that joke if any kids were listening. DeAndre Hunter was out with rest yesterday. We didn't even talk about that. DeAndre Hunter didn't play yesterday, right?
Yeah.
How about that detail? Do those matter? Do those matter to people? I mean,
they should. No, listen, I like. There's obviously a lot of reasons why the team is where it's at right now, and
it's not like the team is struggling. They're in the top 3 of the East right now.
They're fine. They're like, in that regard, they're still fine. Like we love Megs. He's a little hyperbolic at times, but he texted in our group chat something like, at this rate, they better just make the playoffs. And I was like, bro, there is some real garbage in the Eastern Conference. There's no way this team's not making the playoffs.
I told him to mix in a water.
Like you could like if the philosophy became, hey, we're just going to rely on Donovan all season, you would absolutely make the playoffs with just that being your offensive philosophy. But
I want to do something, Spence. I want to watch a Cavs game from front to back with the worst member of Cavs Twitter to see how they process sports without seeing them tweet.
Who would that be? Hoodie Garland?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know who.
We have to do a poll. Are you the worst Cavs fan of all time? Let's sit down and watch a game together. This is great content, by the way. This episode, we need to rename it. We are just coming up with all kinds of great content for the show. So I like where our heads are at with this one. But
this doesn't really do with our title for sure. I just with processing sport, the emotion. Matt Painter had a great quote the other day. Head coach of Purdue, one of the best programs in the nation. Shout out to the Zips for actually giving him something to handle in the first half.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy, Beast Girls, by the way. Give me Red Sox updates while we're in here doing this podcast. I don't know if that's real or not.
Fan base.
I don't know if that's real or not, but I'm going to have to go check Twitter real quick. Keep going with what you were saying.
There you go. Cool. No, but Matt Painter of Purdue, and he's had an incredible program for the last really 20-something years, whatever amount of time he's been there. He's like, trying to teach his players to take the emotions out of sport. Emotions out because you have to stay level-headed. Donovan Mitchell credits Ricky Rubio with staying level-headed and how long of a season it is, how long of the playoffs go, how long it can feel game to game after a loss. There's a mentality thing here that I think a lot of people can learn from in sport. And it just goes like, it also depends on if you're a glass half full, glass half empty kind of person. But when I watch sports, I try to, and this happens like with my parents and when I'm watching with my brother, who's in sports, by the way, I try to tell him like, guys, like, like it'll be like, 45 to 34 or something like that in the game. And just like, they just don't got it tonight. And like, dude, there's like so much time left in this game, or they'll be up and they'll be like, it's wraps. And I'm like, no, it's not. Usually I got a good tell on when a game does get out of hand and when something does go, awry, and I'll be like, all right, yeah, they're not going to win this one. They're not playing the right way, something like that. Cavs could be playing the right way and they could be down 15. I'm like, no, they're going to end up winning this. I think the more you watch, the more you get a grasp on what playing the right way is, the process of the plays over the results. And we're really results obsessed. And I think that's part of the issue we have in sports fandom right now is we're very results obsessed. And that I think has kind of poisoned minds. And it doesn't help too that there's all the gambling going on and the player props and stuff like that. So I can never tell who's taking things seriously as a fan of a team versus a fan of a player. It's all hard to differentiate. But yeah, that's just my little soapbox. Sorry for taking over.
No, it's all good. I like your soapbox rants. It's all fine. But to get back to Donovan real quick, because I was going to say, like, the one thing that is undeniable is that he is playing at the highest level he's ever played in his career, and like that Indiana series did teach him a lot. And so now it's just about like seeing where he goes from here, and if he can remain in that conversation, great. I'm not banking on it, but yeah, he's been phenomenal, and I do think, though, like we talked about, like fans probably don't want to see him be in that conversation all year because it probably means that the Cavs aren't doing the things that they probably need to do to win. I think as a more overarching conversation here, real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts, Spence, on like this team right now lacks a little bit of identity, specifically on the offensive end. We know that. We just talked about that a ton with both the two guys that we highlighted, in Evan and Donovan, and their roles on this team right now. A lot of the identity crisis has to do with not having guys in the lineup and all those different things. At what point do you believe, like, we'll start to? I mean, I know it's hard. It's like an arbitrary thing because we're waiting for guys to get back healthy. But at what point do you feel we'll be able to really feel like we can grade and judge who this team is, and we'll start to get a picture of like who they are as a team? Because that's the thing I'm waiting for. I know fans are freaking out and they're like trying to anoint them this or that right now, which just isn't right or fair. But at some point, like, we're going to want to sort of get a better sense of that. And I'll say this, like, for me, I'm okay if that point isn't until like, end of January, because that's when you want to start really seeing a team hit their stride anyway. So I'm not worried. Here's what I'll say. Maybe the question I want to really ask is, like, when do you want to get a better sense of who they are as a team and what they're going to look like? Because for me, I'm going into this saying end of January. That's where I want to start seeing, okay, guys are back healthy. Who are you as a team? What are you doing? What is the identity that they haven't quite been able to find yet?
Yeah, I think that's a good target for sure. I would say probably more towards like New Year, but also that's, we don't know when Max Strus ends up coming back to the team too, so that's another piece of this. I don't know why we need the results now, and I think people are just a little bit kind of anxious to get to that playoff environment to see how they've improved or if they've improved from last year in terms of mentality, in terms of makeup. Front office obviously saw something different and went out and changed some minor things and ended up getting Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance Jr., instead of having Isaac Okoro and Ty Jerome around, paying Sam Merrill, that kind of stuff. So I think that, people want to just press fast forward. Unfortunately, guys, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet, and you're in for a long ride. And my best advice is to not take things game by game. But in terms of like when you want to see who they are at their, I'm gonna say the playoffs, because I don't know how to judge them. And I know who they are, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like they are some team that's regressed or something like that. I'm not gonna do it. Because I don't believe they have. They're trying some stuff out. They're changing up some schemes. They're doing some different things usage-wise with Evan. They're trying out defensive things that are different. They're being more aggressive, so they're gambling more a lot. So that's sometimes why other teams have scored on them, because they're going for steals now and they're going for more of an aggressive pick up full court. And yeah, you're going to get beaten advantages because of how up and down the game is. There's no set defenses anymore, so they're trying to join that trend. So I do not make any judgments 20 game into the season off of that. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one who's blinded or something like that. But I just don't think this team is worse than the one last year because of their record or anything like that. We demand the results now. I understand that's where things are, and people probably think that the Detroit Pistons are going to win the championship right now, and heck of a start for them. Love watching what Cade Cunningham's done and what JB's done with that group, and I'm not saying they're not capable of winning a championship, but it is November. And you never know how the season's going to shake out, what injuries may occur, what cold spells may occur. It's a marathon, man, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest, because it took Indiana a while last year, and they got into the finals.
True.
So how can I really predict that?
You know what?
I know that it's
another
content for us, and it's how we
Yeah.
have to talk about it, but it's impossible to predict.
No, that's another really good example. Like you used the Giannis example for Evan earlier, using the Pacers example for this team. I think that's a good one because like Indiana was kind of slept on all year. It was like, oh yeah, like they're okay. And then like they got it together when it mattered most. And that's the thing I keep going back to too, is like anybody who's trying to hit the panic button at the quarter pole of the season and be like, this team has no identity. Who are they? Like I get being concerned about Evan and all those things, and we need to see more. But anybody who's like worried about the team as a whole and the identity and like who are they? Why aren't they figuring this out? Like I'm gonna go check. I want receipts. Like if you were also somebody who was saying, the regular season doesn't matter, I don't care, blah blah blah, then you can't be mad in November. We're not even at December yet, but you can't be mad in November that they're not quite who they are going to be yet. Like it's going to take time here, and the goal has always been get these guys back healthy and start figuring out who you are in January, February, into March, and then into the playoffs. That's when you want this team to really start looking like the team that you hope they can be. So I'm with you, man. Like it's nothing to hit the panic button about right now. Anybody who's been dealing with the injuries the Cavs have been dealing with would not necessarily know who they are or have their full identity figured out to this point. So I don't think it's anything to stress over at this juncture. Final thing we wanted to do for some fun, Spence, before we get out of here. It's Thanksgiving week. We both love. First of all, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish? What do you gravitate towards the most?
Does it just have to be one piece of food? Can I say the whole thing? Can I say like the bacon smoked turkey that we do?
That's just a cop out answer, but
listen, bacon smoked turkey, cheesy potatoes.
Bacon smoked turkey's good.
Listen,
I have a friend
my man,
who would do that, and I go over and get bacon smoked turkey every year when I was still living back home. That's a great move right there.
No, not the typical cheesy, turkey in the oven that's dry when it comes out. No. That's not how we do it in the Davies household. We smoke a turkey for hours upon hours. That thing's dripping coming out of there. Oh. And then you go and get cheesy potatoes. You get the green bean casserole, corn casserole.
Greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes.
Man. Yeah. No, dude, honestly, corn casserole is probably my favorite side. But the cheesy potatoes, they will bring the mashed potatoes with gravy too. Not a big ham guy. So like,
I'm not a ham guy either.
It's more of a Christmas
thing. If you're serving ham
thing,
at your Thanksgiving, don't invite me over. I don't want to be there.
Nope.
Sorry.
Not a ham guy. Ham guy.
No offense to you. You're probably a good person. I'm not doing ham on Thanksgiving. I'm not doing it.
Terrible people who like ham.
I'll say this. We work in, especially like if my wife and I are hosting people, we work in baked mac and cheese every year. Or not every year, but as much as we can. That will be my go-to side. But I love stuffing, particularly my mom's stuffing. And obviously you can't go wrong with mashed potatoes. But I would say like those are probably like my top three. But listen, we all know Thanksgiving's great food. Whatever, people have some unique things they work in. You mentioned corn casserole. My mother-in-law said she's doing a corn casserole this year, and she was like, "You like corn casserole?" I was like, I love cornbread, so I'm assuming I'm going to love corn casserole. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So I'm looking forward to that. But before we leave, Spence, I want to know, and you don't get to cop out on this one. You can't say the whole roster. You get to pick one player. Which Cavaliers player are you most thankful for this year? No Donovan Mitchell either. That's a cop out too. That's like the easy answer. That's like sitting down and being like, "Oh, what are you most thankful for this year?" And you're like, "Well, you just had like a kid or something." And you're like, "Oh, well, we had this beautiful baby boy." It's like, okay, well, that's like the cop out answer. Everyone knew what you were going to say. You can't have the gimme. You got to take somebody else. Somebody not named Donovan Mitchell. Who's the Cavaliers player you're most thankful for?
Well, if we're not going to do someone in the core four, then I'm going to say Jalen Tyson. Because I think Jalen's had a heck of a year so far.
Now I got to come up with a new one.
Well, there you go. Now you got to come up with a new one. Jalen's been outstanding on the glass, defensively picking up full court. I know he's had some foul trouble here and there, but he's really attacked. He's attacked the beginning of the year really well, and he's taken some big shots. He had some really nice finishes last night in Toronto where kind of showed off a little bit of a Donovan Mitchell type of footwork in the transition with some 1-2 steps and ones. The 3-point shot's been phenomenal. He's really taken it to heart, trying to be one of the best NBA players in the roles, stars in their roles in the league so far.
It's a good answer. I was going to say that answer, but I'll let you have it. I'm actually going to go with Sam Merrill, and here's why. I know Sam's missed some games. I know he hasn't played every game, But I think that's honestly part of the reason why I think I'm even more thankful for him on this team, because you've noticed how important he is to this roster when he's not out there. He's averaging 13.9 per game when he plays. That's a career high. He is shooting 44% from three, which is tied with his career high, but it's going back to his rookie season that he also hit that number, and he was not taking nearly as many threes or shot attempts back then. So for his career as a whole, this is the better of the 44% because he's taking more shots and still knocking them down at that clip. He's shooting a career high 46% from the floor just in general. The guy is balling. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point. We knew that the Cavs could only pay probably one of Ty Jerome or Sam Merrill. And it certainly looks like they made the right choice in keeping the sharpshooter around who plays such a pivotal role when he's out there to this offense and how they operate. So I'm going to say Sam Merrill. You're going to say Jalen Tyson. In our heart of hearts, we are all thankful for all the Cavs players. They're all great, and we enjoy the fact that they are so generous with their time talking to us quite often and giving us some great stuff over here to cover with our Courtside with the Cavs podcast and obviously the Cavs Roundtable family of content that we have. So any final thoughts, Spence, before we get out of here? Anything you want to say to the fans? I mean, I was going to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody, but if you want to send a message as well, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, happy Turkey Day, guys. Thanks for following along. Thanks for dealing with me being a whiny mess on these podcasts. But remember, it's all in love. It's all in love for sure. Make sure you enjoy your holiday season.
Yes.
Especially the start of it.
Yes.
Enjoy some football. Enjoy some football on Thursday. And then enjoy having your wrist up come Sunday against the Niners.
That's right. That's right. Get your tickets now. I hear they're pretty cheap at the moment if you want to get out there and watch Shedeur Sanders' first career start in Cleveland. So there you go if you're looking for something to do on Thanksgiving weekend. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us truly. We are thankful, I can say, for all of you.
Oh, my gosh, I'm an idiot. Your hat. Go Bucks. Go Bucks.
Oh,
Screw
yeah.
TTUN. My Lord.
What
am I thinking?
Bucks.
Oh, yeah, if you're a Michigan fan, then go ahead and get the heck out of this podcast. You could go somewhere else.
But
go
come
stick
back,
it where the sun don't
come
shine.
Back after, because we if you're a Cavs fan too, we appreciate you following. But yeah, this week we just don't like you. No, listen, go Bucks for sure. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We are truly thankful for all of you who jump in this podcast with us and make this thing possible. We enjoy doing this together, but we enjoy the interactions from you guys as well. And, we appreciate you being part of our community here on the YouTube channel, but also over at Cavs Roundtable. So enjoy your Thanksgivings, gorge yourself with food, watch some good football, watch the game this weekend, and watch the Browns on Sunday. We'll be back, obviously. We'll have a post-game show for you, I'm sure, that throughout these next couple games coming up. I know Sunday we'll both be at the arena, so we'll at least have one together then. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a great Thanksgiving and keep on following along, as always, with all things Cleveland Cavaliers with Cavs Roundtable.